Hey, my friends, welcome to the Dallas Daily Show, coming at you from the Neighborhood Loan Studio here in St. Louis, Missouri. Today's episode, and this whole week, this whole theme is going to be on signs everywhere, the signs. Yep, signs coming at you. Today's episode, life lessons from a billboard. Let's hop into it. All right, we drive past billboards all the time. We see signs all the time. I actually belong to a couple of Facebook groups that I go in and just look at funny signs every now and again when you just need that brainless activity of like, what's a meme that might make me laugh? And so I have joined a couple of funny signs groups where you just see these misprints or you see people put up printed things that you're like, that's an awkward way they phrase that. We're not going to be focused so much on the comedy this time because sometimes there are signs that we see along the road or on the highway or billboards that we see that we're like, oh, that's kind of thought-provoking. And I saw this one recently, and I'm going to kind of throw a few of them at you this week that have recently stuck out to me. But I saw this one recently that the billboard read, "Creativity was in you since the beginning. Satisfy it." And I loved that. I thought that was such a cool little billboard. And I actually began to think creativity was in you since the beginning. Satisfy it. And I began to personally think back as I was driving. I was like, oh, yeah, I have always been creative. I think back to I was the kid. I'm the youngest of five. And yes, I was the baby of the family. All right, we can let that go. I don't need to hear about it again and again and again. But I was the youngest of five kids, and most of my siblings were, I think my brother, I think he's like 15 months or 16 months older than me. But by the time he was going off to preschool, I was still at home with mom, and she worked, and she also actually, funny enough, she had a radio show at the time. And she would sometimes take me to the radio station where I would have my couple of action figures, and I was a big fan of Smurfs. When I was a little guy, a little preschooler, I would have these blue Smurfs, and if you don't know what they are, look them up. They were so much fun. And they used to sell at Hallmark. I think we still have Hallmark around. Hallmark cards are around, but we would go into the Hallmark store and you could get a little Smurf for $1.99 or $1.49, whatever it was. And I would take a couple of them with me and I would just play quietly under a table while she was literally recording her radio show because she didn't have to think, oh, Dallas is going to make noise. I was, believe it or not, oh my gosh, this sounds so brutal, Taylor. Believe it or not, I was actually a very quiet kid. I was charming as all get out. When the camera turned on, when the mic turned on, and you all, you've heard me say this before in the past, but nobody believes I'm actually an introvert. Nobody believes that I love my quiet time and I can sit quietly alone for hours at a time and not have to engage at all. But when the mics and the cameras and all that go on, I'm like, all right, where's my spot, Mr. B? So I would go and I'd play with these Smurfs, and there were times that I would take my action figures as I got a little bit older. I was way into Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command. It was kind of a 80s blend of G.I. Joe and Transformers, for those of you who remember. And I had these great Mask toys, and I would go into this imagination world, and I would just play and play and play, and I could lose hours on end. And I remember my mom actually saying that I was the one of the kids she didn't have to entertain, because she would just be like, honey, can you go take some of your toys and go play? And she could trust that I could do it. What's interesting, though, flash forward now, is as we grew older and as, quote, life became more serious, we left some of the creativity behind. I left so much of my imagination behind because we are told, and even like scriptures say, when I was a child, I thought like a child, but now that I'm a man, I put away childish things. And I'm like, actually, I don't think that's the way to go. I actually think when it comes to solutions in our life, we have to think creatively. I actually think that when it comes to problems, we have to think creatively. When it comes to your work, you have to begin to imagine the possibilities. We talk about it all the time in our 4 eyes of the winning game plan here on the Dallas Daily Show. Insights, is number one. Imagination is number two. It's one of the keys to winning. And you've heard me describe when I was struggling with my anxiety, there was all of these issues. It's like, oh, I'm imagining all the wrong potential outcomes. I'm still using my imagination. It's just aimed at the wrong stuff. So what would happen if I actually could use my creativity to become the better version of me, to create the future me that I want to be, to create the reality that I want to see? I don't know why this turned into rhyming, but that's what just occurred. But there's a future version of you out here, my friend. There's this future version of you that's waiting for you to become so creative, but we're so stuck in the stuff. We're so stuck in the mire and in the muck. Look at that. I rhymed again and I didn't even try, Taylor. We're stuck in the muck. You got to fire the mire. I don't know. Let's quit. Let's get a choir. No. All right. So here's what I want you to think about. There's a creativity that's been in you since the beginning. It's time to revisit, not the past wounds, right? Not the past fears, but the past power that you once possessed. It's still in you. And that billboard is saying, satisfy it. Satisfy it. If you've been wondering what's thirsting inside of you for so long, it's that creative portion of you. It's that little child in you that's like, look, I'm one of the best parts of you. Don't leave me stuck in the past. Satisfy it. How can you bring the creative imagination of who you used to be when the world was your oyster, when you were a king, when you were a queen, right? When you would go into the woods and play for hours, when you would go on your bike and imagine that it was like a spaceship and right with your handlebars, and just imagine all the things with your dolls. If you were a little girl and you loved to do that, I don't know what you played with as a child, but you accessed all of this amazing imagination. And I'm telling you, that's still inside of you. And the billboard, the signs of life are saying, it's been in you since the beginning. Satisfy it. All right, that's it, my friends. That's all I got for you. Go out there. Satisfy your creativity. Tap that inner child inside of you and say, come on, let's go together. Let's the past me and the present me become the future me creatively. That's your new reality. And that's the last rhyme, I promise. Maybe I'll have one more to say, and that's have a championship day.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more tools, go to DallasDailyShow.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.